Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
So now you're going to hear some nice stories. Of course, we've passed the holiday, but I am always concerned about holidays and what it is for people who have lost people in their lives or maybe are suffering with all sorts of things. Now, people who are suffering with being overweight makes it harder on holidays, and we all know what that's like. But there's some really even more serious situations, and I have someone who lives it every day, Dean Webb, who's the executive director of the Faith Farm Ministries. Welcome to our show, Dean.
Welcome. Thank you very much for having me.
And I know that it must be here you have over 400, well, you have a lot of other people. You have 400 students, but you have a lot of other people there who maybe are recovered, and, you know, it's always something. How is it in the holidays?
Well, it's rough. As you probably know, from December to January 1st, between Christmas and New Year's, that 1 week is the largest suicide rate week in the whole calendar year. And I've read a lot, but I've not found anybody that satisfied me on why that is. I think it's the contrast of people that are alone or have gone through depression or addiction or something, and seeing everybody celebratory and happy and gift giving and shopping and all that. And I think it's the contrast of that with how they feel inside that makes them turn down inwardly and feel depressed. And that's no difference. We have 445 beds in our program, and so, you know, we get a kind of a cross section of the United States, since we draw from 47 out of 50 states. So we get quite a variance of people, but that we're very sensitive to that time because we don't know how those people are internalizing that. And so we try and do special things and bring, you know, for example, our new women's director, when she has somebody that's graduated from the program, and let's say they're single, she'll invite them to come back with the women that are in the program and spend the night on Christmas Eve and, you know, experience that, just to give them some connection, as well as the women that are still in the program some connection. And there are a lot of little nuances, little things you can do like that to make them feel special.
Yeah, and I also was thinking about people who have loved ones in the military.
Oh,
and then they're not there, and of course,
they're always deployed.
I was going to ask you, are you getting people from the military at Faith Farm who've come back from service and they have problems?
We get some. I'm surprised that we don't get as many any more than we do. You know, if they don't already know about us, they come back, and it's kind of hard to find out about us since we're drug and alcohol addiction treatment. People have to be looking for that or have that problem to Google and find us. And so, and it's unfortunate that a lot of guys do get addicted in the military, either pain meds, real serious, if they have an injury. And some of them, alcohol is a real bad problem because the horrors of war and some of the things. I remember I had a brother-in-law, he was in the Korean War, and half of one of his feet were black because they'd been frozen, and he refused to have it amputated. But he would wake up in the night with night horrors, just screaming, and his wife would try and calm him down and stuff because he just was always dreaming about the horrible things that he saw, you know. And people in the military experience stuff that you and I will never ever see. We'll never ever see.
Of course, and you were in the Navy and you saw a lot, but how is alcohol allowed in the service after hours? Or, how does that work?
It's kind of a big macho thing. When I was in, and of course I was in a long time ago, but, it was a big thing to go out and after at the end of the week or at the end of the day or whatever, to have a bunch of drinks at the club on base with the guys and stuff. And they would drink quite heavily. Now, if they had to stop 12 hours before a flight, just like the airlines, and so because they had to have it out of their system, be sober. But the things that they experienced and saw were horrible. And a lot of they try to forget it, like some people in the inner city tries to forget the crime they see, or people in the suburbs who have had a horrible thing happen to somebody in their family, a family member, they try and put that behind them. I mean, people use drugs and alcohol to self-medicate against the horrors of whatever happened in their life. And that could be a broken relationship. That could be, I think I told you once before, I had a guy in the program at the Boynton campus, and I asked him why he was in there, thinking he's going to tell me drugs or alcohol, and he says, I'm in here so I won't kill my brother. And I go, wow, what's that about? And he says, well, my brother was 8 years older than me, and he always abused me. And he'd start beating up on me, and if I could get away, I'd run and grab my mom's skirt tails, and she wouldn't let him touch me anymore and everything. So she knew he was abusing me. The thing she didn't know is he was sexually abusing me. And one day I drew the lines and says, you're not going to do that anymore. And we got in a big fight. And anyway, and he said, I'll never forget. He pointed his finger and says, I'm going to get even with you for that. He said, the next week I came home and there was my mom's dismembered body laying on the couch. And I knew,
I don't remember this.
I knew my brother had killed him.
Oh.
And he says, I called the cops and the DNA showed that it was my brother, and he was put away for life. He said, but because of good behavior, he's getting out this week after 28 years. And he says, I know I'll kill that SOB if I'm on the streets. So I had to check myself into your program. And he says, I've been doing drugs and alcohol all these years to try and forget the horrors of what he did to my mom and what he did to me.
Just hearing this. So when we go to Faith Farm, and a lot of us drop off our valuable goods, and then we call you and you come and pick up our goods, or we go and buy things there. The fallacy for people is they have no idea what's really behind this. And that's why every time Judy writes beautiful articles to try to make everyone alert to what real Faith Farm really is. And it says help save lives. And that's what it really is. And every time you tell me a story like that, I am in total shock. But all of you who work there have to have a very big heart, because otherwise I don't think you could do it.
Well, I was thinking the other day, we've been around over 64 years, and we have everything from homeless people to convicted felons that are in our program. And I was thinking to myself, how come in 64 years with 35,000 plus people coming through here, we've never had an altercation, we've never had a fight, we've never had any bodily harm done to anybody? And the only answer I could come up with, Anita, was when they crossed that bridge at Boynton. They always say, well, I felt such peace when I came across that bridge to the campus. Well, our pastor takes olive oil from Israel, and he walks the entire 90-degree perimeter with the staff, and they pray over that campus and say, God, we speak peace into this campus.
How come I never heard this before? I have goosebumps. You never told me this.
That's
a beautiful thing.
There are so many stories to tell. I mean, you don't have enough program time, but,
he walks the perimeter with olive oil from Israel.
Yeah, with the people in the church, and they drip olive oil and anointing oil and anoint that campus for God and pray for peace and serenity and love to prevail. And that's what people say they feel when they cross that bridge. They say, we just feel love. We feel peace. And our people, the reason I think we've never had a problem is just they feel cocooned in love. They feel the peace when they come on campus.
That's a beautiful story. I'm sure that is true. Now, not everyone, although there have been no altercations, everyone can fight this big monster that they have. So sometimes people have to leave and they have to go off and then they come back and I know you work so hard to put them through good learning, good teaching, good Bible study, good everything you do. And most important, though, that you do support them. You don't judge them. No,
we have people from every religion, every creed. Usually the only people we don't have are atheists, because they they watch the little 9-minute video we created, and when they see, because I said I want people to know who we are before they come in. I don't want to do 18 pages of intake forms about their life and then have them say, I'm not. So we show them the video first, and we've had guys, like in Lauderdale, we had 2 guys in a row said, I'm an atheist. I could not live in 9 months of this God stuff. And they walk out. But it's sad for us. We don't ever want to lose one. But the good news is I'd rather do that before my intake counselor and his assistant do all this paperwork.
And take up space for a valuable space.
And then a week later they walk out. And, we just had to, I just had a call from a mom, last Friday, up in New Jersey. And, we'd had to kick his son out of the program. He was just, he wore his pants low till you could see the crack. He was writing New Jersey gang symbols, was desecrating our teaching books, and he was putting gang symbols on the restroom and stuff like that.
How long did you put up with that?
I think he'd been there just right at 3 weeks, and they did everything they can. They called him in. Even the director and assistant director just said, we're going to get the guy from Doc Lewis. He's from New Jersey, came down here, and he's one of our staff members, but he's from Jersey, so the guy will relate to him. And he just couldn't, the guy just kept saying, I don't want to be here. And we said, well, why are you here? My mother made me. So, I've told you before, one of the toughest things for our intake counselors is determined motivation, because it's not an easy program. It's a 9-month commitment. You work 6 days a week. You're off Sunday, and you have church and that sort of thing. And you have a lot of classwork, and you can sit for college credits at the end. I mean, it's a very intense program. But, my mother in Oklahoma used to say, an idle mind's the devil's workshop. So I said, we're going to keep them busy. And usually if there's any downtime, they get in troubles of some kind, either with the women on the camp or something. So we keep them pretty busy, either in class or in work or whatever. So, we just had to let him go. And the mother was getting me. She says, well, that's so unloving. I said, ma'am, look, I said, here's the deal. We say whosoever will may come. We open our arms to anybody. And he came down here from New Jersey, but the whole time he's been here, he keeps saying, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. We keep trying to say, do this. He said, well, I don't even want to be here. And I said, the sad thing is we don't know how he slipped through our safety net of being that unmotivated, but we can't make your son comply, and it has to comply. And then I told her the story. That's what made me think of it. I said, now that I think of it, we've been around 64 years with tens of thousands of people. We've never had an altercation. But the reason is we have to run a very tight ship. I said, we're not a reform school. We don't have police. We don't have doctors. We're a church. And we just love people to God. And, we don't have a way to deal with somebody who doesn't want to be here and is belligerent. And I said, we didn't have any choice but to dismiss him from the program,
Okay. So this is really a strange question, but now that and I have nothing against Muslims. I mean, cause they're another human being. They just think differently. Have you had anybody come because they're not supposed to be drinking at all, Muslims, right? But they could be on drugs. I mean,
they could be on drugs. Yeah, I had matter of fact, I was about to speak in the Sunday morning service at Fort Lauderdale one Sunday. This was about probably a little over a year ago, and I noticed 2 kind of olive skinned guys sitting together and on the second row. So I knelt down on the cushion in the front row and extended my hand and introduced them and everything, and asked them who they were and how long they'd been here, and I said, what nationality are you? And one guy said, I'm Jewish. Another guy said, I'm Muslim. And I said, you guys are the best of friends here? He said, yeah. So, we don't discriminate against anybody. I mean, I was a little bit surprised because all the stuff in the news nowadays about not letting them in the country.
But the 2 of them, right?
They linked up together, and we encourage a buddy system. If somebody's determined to graduate, link up with somebody like that. Don't link up with somebody negative, because he'll find everything in the world wrong with the program and every reason to quit. So they had linked up, one Jewish guy and one Muslim guy, and that was so neat to see.
I hope that they.
So we have all sorts of religions and stuff.
I hope that they did that. I just want everyone to know this delightful, wonderful man you've heard before, Dean Webb, is the executive director of Faith Farm Ministries. It's a very, very big job. A lot of responsibilities. It's a wonderful, wonderful way to live your life every day, though. I know Dean feels that way. He wouldn't want to. Actually, he needs to take a salary, but if he didn't, and If he were very rich, he'd probably do it anyway because he loves what he does, and I know that. So, Dean, it's they're very fortunate to have you. I have to say that. And before I forget, we always want to talk to people about how to continue all the good news that you hear from Faith Farm. And we say this, that if you have, you can always contribute to them. You know, you can write a check and however you want to do that. But if you want to put them in your will, that's a wonderful thing to do also because you know where your money's going. And that's something that's not often seen. A lot of very good causes, but they're so big you don't know where your money went. Here you'd know where your money went. And we also want to wish Judy Walters a lot of good wishes.
She's back at work Monday.
I know she is.
We are so glad to have her too.
Yeah, she's been struggling too. Everyone struggles, but you know the big thing I think that happens is when I go to your graduations. It's, I've never been to a graduation like that. It's the most beautiful, wonderful. It's an honor to be there to hear people.
Yeah, that's the juice for me when I work long hours in a week and stuff. I know that every 6 weeks at each of the 3 campuses, we got a graduation coming up. And I really get my motor revved at the graduation. I just love to hear them. We only allow them 5 or 6 minutes to speak, but they'll tell, you know, what condition they were in that got them to think about Faith Farm, and then what happened while they were here and their life changed and where they're going from there. So it's really, really neat.
And your book, You Turn to God, is a beautiful
50
book.
50 of those graduation speeches.
Right,
yeah.
right. I didn't bring it with me, but I usually carry it with me all the time. And it's extremely, the word I would call is, well, first of all, it's shocking. First of all, for someone who's not familiar with what goes on there.
Yeah.
But then after you get past that, it's like, it's like magnificent that someone would spill the beans on themselves the way they do. It's terrible things sometimes, but now they've been saved. They're ready to go on with a different life. And maybe that, you know, it's the talking sometimes that really makes a difference. They have to be able to share and admit. And that's with everything. You have to admit that something was wrong. Yeah.
Well, that's what they had to do to get themselves there and realize something was wrong. You know, there are literally millions and millions and millions of alcoholics and people addicted. And so very few of them will acknowledge that to themselves that they've got a problem. Then of those few, very few will check themselves into a program or do anything about it. And even fewer of those will come to a faith-based program. And for us, obviously, we'd be kind of bad if we didn't believe in what we did, but we believe to our core that their relationship to God, their relationship to Jesus Christ, their following all of the tenets he established and stuff. We believe that that's the thing that keeps them strong when they leave. And so that's what we do. And, we've had Muslims convert. We don't discriminate when they come in, and we don't force them to do anything. We just lay out what God did for them. And through all the coursework and stuff, we have people come to God, and they've changed because they see, matter of fact, one of my greatest guys is a teacher. He's from India, and, he's from the Hindu religion, and his parents he's a total outcast because he came to Jesus Christ at our campus. He stopped his alcoholism. He now teaches all of our advanced students. He's my IT guy, does all my technical stuff. And he worked for either 12 or 13 years. His name is Raj. And I would call Raj in about every, 8 or 9 months. I say, okay, Raj, I need to hire you. You're so valuable. I don't want to, no, Brother Dean, Faith Farm saved my life. I'm giving my life to Faith Farm. I don't want any money. I just want to live here and pay back for what you did for me.
Oh my goodness.
And now he's got 3 brothers and sisters. They're all big medical doctors and stuff. He was an outcast because he was on drugs and alcohol. So we just have a myriad different people and backgrounds that, are there laying down their life for the next guy who comes in to help them change the way their lives were changed.
Yeah, and I think that you said it right. Most of the time it's a parent or someone who says you've got to get help, and then and I guess everyone feels, okay, I can do it myself. And it's funny, sometimes I go to dinners with people, and I don't happen to drink, not for any other reason. I just never started to drink, and I don't like the taste of it. But you see everybody ordering something, and then there's always one or two that don't, and they're very sophisticated, and I never say anything. But I get the feeling that maybe they are a recovered alcoholic.
Well, it's very possible because a lot of people find out the hard way once they get clean that I can just, actually, I will tell you, there's a story. My director at Lauderdale, Richard, he was an aeronautical engineer, brilliant guy, but he got addicted and he came through our program. He got clean. He went back out and after traveling, I think he described it as one of those half walls in a Holiday Inn between the bar and the restaurant. So he was looking over there and he thought, I've done this for however many months or years. I don't recall now. So I can just take a drink and I can handle that. Well, he was back in our program for long because a lot of people, if you have the alcohol gene and you drink, you can't drink.
Yeah, it's a chemical situation.
Because honestly, there are millions of people at cocktail hour at 5:00 every day. They have a drink or two and then go home and it never affects them. But boy, if you've got that gene and the problem is the best way to never test it is abstinence. Like don't ever take it. Yeah. If it's abstinence, you're never going to find out, the same thing with, people worry about abortion and getting pregnant. Well, if you abstain, you don't have that problem, So, it's just, some people just can't. And so they have to draw the line and say, I just realized I cannot do that.
Okay. Well, I haven't given the information out. I have to do that because I still have some more things to tell you. Faithfarm.org. That's how you're going to see them. And if you're going to come, let's see, Wednesday. No, it's this will show be over by the time the WEBB Expo, so we can't do that. But Boynton Beach, call them at 561-737-2222. Boynton Beach. And then Fort Lauderdale is 954-763-7789. But you can always go on to their website, which is faithfarm.org. Your donations of household items, appliances, electronics, art, jewelry, clothing, cars, and trucks. It's very, very important that you do that or go there and buy them. They have lovely things to buy. So if you know someone who doesn't know about Faith Farm and you think that, you could gently suggest it and see what they say. You don't know this, but when I was 21 and I was married in my first marriage, my husband at that time wanted to get his college degree. And so we found the money to buy a beer and wine bar in Miami. And as I told you, I didn't drink. So, and I had no urge to do that, but I sure did learn about people drinking. I never told you about this.
No.
And I sat there and I was this 21-year-old, watching all these men, mostly men. There was a few women came into this beer and wine bar. And the stories and the things and the phone would ring and they said to tell her I'm not here. I heard all that stuff. And I learned to be a very, very good pool shark because I had to be there to keep them there to play. Yeah. But I saw a lot of that there. Yeah. And I hadn't really thought about it until we were just talking about it. And these people came every single day and they passed their dinner time and they were there in the evening. For me, it was good, of course, because, but we didn't have anybody. Yeah. There were no fights or anything, but it wasn't as pleasant an evening as probably, one would think. Yeah. So this is but you go by the bars and you see that same cars are there every night. And I guess
a ritual.
It's a diversion from life, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
You and I are so busy. We don't know what to do in the evening. There's no way I'm sitting at any bar. But people are lonely maybe, and that's a way that they find camaraderie with these other people drinking. And
if they can walk into a bar and they don't know a soul there, they can always sit up at the bar and there's a lady serving drinks they can talk to, or a man, and they talk to them, and it's just a conversation, and it's kind of like a way to pass the time without being totally alone.
Yeah, that's really what.
But they still go home alone.
Yeah, that's true. Still go home. Well, we are very happy that Pappy, who started this so many years ago, out of love, and I think it's kept that way. Even though you never had the privilege of knowing him, we do have his daughter there.
Yep.
We see her;
Dolores,
she's so sweet, and But he knew something. He knew that he didn't want people out in the streets, and he wanted to help them. And he never made a lot of money. He was smart enough to get some land or whatever he had, but that was a beautiful story.
Yeah, he started out his original church in Lauderdale was called Fort Lauderdale Rescue Tabernacle, a house of prayer. And they had prayer round the clock. And he saw people coming in. They would take them in for give them a shower and clothes and food and everything. But he didn't see a change. And that's when he extended it to a 9-month program so he could have greater input and actually see life change, and not just provide a cot and a place to sleep and a shower and a meal and the gospel message and off they're on again. And then they see them come back the same night. And the next night they've still got alcohol in their breath. He wasn't seeing life change. And that's how the program originally kept getting extended to a 9-month program.
But it was alcohol because we didn't have drugs.
Oh no, first 20, 25 years of Faith Farm was almost all alcohol. And then you had to add on top of that, recreational drugs like heroin and cocaine, and then that got, in the last 10 or 15 years, you have to add prescriptive medication addiction because people get into auto accidents. Doctors have no idea what they're prescribing, addiction, and oxycodone is harder to break than heroin, the habit, and that's what they give you for pain. And so, very famous people like Rush Limbaugh and stuff gotten addicted to prescriptive drugs and had to go into rehab. So, people just, because of that, going from alcohol and street drugs and now prescriptive meds, now we're seeing a really higher class people that have been multimillionaires and have gotten in an auto accident. We've had legal secretaries. We've had businessmen. We've had chefs worth millions of dollars down here on Miami Beach, these big hotels. And so we now go from the homeless to a higher grade of people in terms of economic background.
Well, Dean, every time you come on the show, we're never quite sure we're going to talk about, but there's so much that goes on at Faith Farm that we never run out. So thank you very much for being here. I think every time you're on, it just opens up a lot more to people who've never heard about it. Maybe they're one of the addicted people right now listening, and maybe it gives them
maybe hope. They've been fortunate enough to never have a family member or been in alcohol or drug addiction themselves, and they have no idea. Like me when I came down here.
Yeah, thank you very much. FaithFarm.org.